Peter uncovered the horrifying truth about Amanda's curse and her murderous past. With the help of an old man who had lost his son to Amanda, Peter performed a ritual to sever her hold over him. Amanda disintegrated before his eyes, or so he thought. As Peter prepared to leave, he found a chilling photograph of himself, labeled Peter, deceased. Peter stared at the photograph, his hands trembling. His name, written in bold red ink, glared back at him like a death sentence. The man beside Amanda in the picture was him, but it wasn't a memory he recognized. "How?" he whispered. "This doesn't make sense." He turned the photo over again, searching for clues, but the only other marking was a faint symbol, a crescent moon surrounded by thorns. The whispers began again, soft and distant, creeping into his ears. "She's not gone," they seemed to say. "She's never gone." Peter's blood turned cold. The ritual hadn't worked. Peter rushed out of the house, desperate to escape its suffocating grip. He drove aimlessly, his mind racing. How was Amanda still alive? Or worse, still in control? He checked into a motel on the outskirts of town, hoping to find some peace. But peace was far from his reach. That night, as he lay in bed, the whispers returned, louder and clearer than ever. He sat up, his heart pounding. The room was pitch black, but he could feel a presence. He grabbed his phone and turned on the flashlight, scanning the room. In the corner, a shadow moved. "Amanda?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. The shadow lunged at him and he screamed. The next morning, Peter went back to the diner, hoping to find the old man who had given him the ash water. The diner was empty except for the waitress, who looked at him strangely when he asked about the man. "Old man?" she said, furrowing her brow. "You mean Mr. Collins? He died 5 years ago." Peter's stomach dropped. "That's impossible. I talked to him yesterday." The waitress shook her head. "You must be mistaken. Mr. Collins owned this diner, but he passed away after his son disappeared. He was convinced his boy was taken by some undead bride." Grant sat at the table in silence for some moments, finally looking away from his brother. Peter's legs felt weak. Had he been speaking to a ghost? Determined to end Amanda's curse for good, Peter returned to the house. He combed through the attic, looking for anything that might explain the crescent moon symbol on the photograph. Behind an old chest, he found a hidden journal, its pages yellowed with age. The journal belonged to Amanda, or whoever she had been before. It detailed her life before the curse, a woman betrayed by her lover, who sought revenge by summoning a dark spirit. The spirit granted her immortality, but at a terrible price. She would forever hunger for the souls of those she loved. The final entry read, "The crescent moon marks my next victim. There is no escape." Probably the most fascinating part of the opera. Peter touched the scar on his neck, realizing it wasn't just a mark, it was a death sentence. Finally, as Peter read, the house began to tremble. The whispers grew into guttural voices, chanting in an ancient language. The temperature dropped, and shadows danced along the walls. "Amanda!" Peter shouted. "I know your secret. I know how this ends." She appeared before him, her face beautiful but lifeless, her eyes glowing with malice. "You can't stop it, Peter. The curse is eternal. You're already mine." Peter held up the journal. "You were betrayed once. That's what started this. But I can end it. Tell me how." Amanda hesitated, her expression softening for the briefest moment. "The one who cursed me. Only he can free me. But he is long gone, and so are you." Suddenly the room filled with blinding light, and a figure emerged. Tall, cloaked in shadows, with burning eyes that pierced Peter's soul. "I am the spirit of vengeance," it growled. "You dare defy my creation?" Peter stood his ground. You cursed her. You made her this way." The spirit laughed, a sound like grinding stones. "She begged for my power. I merely granted her wish. But if you wish to save her, mortal, you must take her place." Peter's heart sank. "Take her place? What do you mean?" The spirit extended a skeletal hand. "You will bear her curse. You will hunger for souls, wander the earth, and watch those you love perish. Only then will she be free." The spirit made the sign of the cross. Peter looked at Amanda. For the first time, she looked human. Tears streamed down her face as she shook her head. "Don't do it, Peter. I'm not worth it." But Peter thought of the 100 men she had killed, their lives stolen because of her curse. He thought of the journal, of her betrayal, and the life she'd been forced to live. He stepped forward. "I'll do it," Sasha replied. The spirit smiled cruelly and reached out to touch Peter's forehead. A searing pain shot through him as the curse transferred, filling him with darkness. Amanda collapsed to the ground, her body trembling as color returned to her skin. She was free. When Amanda woke, Peter was gone. She searched the house, but all that remained was the journal, open to a blank page. In the distance, she heard whispers. Peter was out there now, somewhere in the world, bound to the curse that once enslaved her. But Amanda knew the truth. This was only the beginning. The crescent moon would rise again. Amanda sat alone in the house that had once been her prison. She should have felt free, relieved, but instead, she felt hollow. The whispers were gone, the shadows no longer crept, and her hunger for souls had vanished. Yet Peter's sacrifice weighed on her like a stone. As she stared at the journal Peter had left behind, a single word appeared on its blank page, scrawled in crimson ink. "Run." Amanda's heart raced. "No," she whispered, clutching the book. "It's over. It has to be over." But deep down, she knew curses didn't break. They only shifted. Far away, Peter wandered through a dense forest. The air was thick with mist, and the ground beneath him seemed alive, pulsing with an unnatural rhythm. His body felt heavy, his thoughts clouded by an insatiable hunger. "Souls," the whispers urged. Peter clutched his head, trying to drown out the voices. "I won't do it," he growled. "I won't hurt anyone." And then he had enough. But the curse didn't care about his resolve. His skin burned with each passing second, his body weakening as the hunger grew unbearable. From the shadows, a figure emerged, a man with hollow eyes and a crescent moon scar on his neck. "You think you can resist?" the man said, his voice dry and brittle. "You're one of us now." Back in the town, Amanda tried to rebuild her life. She took a job at a local bookstore and moved into a small apartment, leaving the cursed house behind. But strange things began happening. Customers who lingered too long in the store spoke of hearing faint whispers. A delivery man claimed he saw shadows moving unnaturally behind Amanda as she unpacked boxes. One night, as she locked up the store, Amanda felt a familiar chill. She turned to see a tall man in a dark coat watching her from across the street. His face was pale, and his eyes seemed to glow faintly. "Peter," she called out, hope and fear mingling in her voice. The man stepped closer, and Amanda's blood ran cold. It wasn't Peter. It was someone else. Someone cursed, like she once was. "You freed yourself," the man said, his voice sharp. "But the curse doesn't like to be alone. It's coming for you." Amanda backed away, her hand gripping the pepper spray in her bag. "I don't understand. Peter took the curse. He saved me." Oh. The man tilted his head, a cruel smile forming on his lips. "For now. But curses have a way of growing. They don't stay contained." "What do you want from me?" Amanda asked, her voice shaking. "To survive," the man replied. "The curse spreads, Amanda. feeds on weakness, on love, on despair. And now it's hunting you because you were its favorite host. Before Amanda could respond, the man disappeared into the shadows, leaving behind only the faint sound of whispers. Peter's hunger became unbearable. He wandered into a small village, his body trembling as the whispers clawed at his mind. "Or you must feed," they urged, "or you will die." Exercise smoothed out the edges of the experience. Peter stumbled into a bar, hoping to find some semblance of normalcy. But as he sat at the counter, the curse awakened. His senses sharpened. He could hear the bartender's heartbeat, smell the fear radiating off a nervous patron. "Stop," Peter muttered to himself, gripping the edge of the counter. A man sitting beside him noticed his distress. "You all right, buddy?" he asked. Peter turned to respond, but his vision blurred. The man's face seemed to twist and distort, his soul glowing faintly beneath his skin. Peter's hands trembled as an overwhelming urge to take the man's life consumed him. "No!" Peter shouted, bolting from the bar and into the night. Amanda knew she couldn't outrun the curse forever. Desperate for answers, she returned to the cursed house, hoping the journal held more secrets. As she flipped through its pages, new entries appeared, written in blood. "The cursed will gather, the hunter will rise, the cycle begins again." "What does that mean?" Amanda whispered. Before she could ponder further, the door creaked open and 3 figures stepped inside. Each bore the crescent moon scar, their eyes glowing faintly. "You thought you could escape," one of them said, their voice cold. "But no one escapes." Amanda backed away, clutching the journal. "I'm not like you anymore." "Not yet," another replied, "but the curse wants you back." Peter, miles away, felt a sharp pain in his chest. Images of Amanda flashed before his eyes, her fear, her desperation. He knew the curse was pulling him back to her. "I won't let it win," he growled, forcing himself to move. As Amanda faced the cursed beings, she realized they weren't there to kill her. They were there to reclaim her as one of their own. They were the seed for a moonlight tour she soon expected to try to cast on her own. Of course, life at the film department was damp. But Amanda had spent centuries under the curse's control, and she knew its weaknesses. Using the journal, she began to chant a binding spell, one that might contain the curse long enough for Peter to return. The room filled with shadows, the air crackling with energy as the cursed figures writhed in agony. Peter burst into the house just as Amanda finished the spell. The cursed beings were frozen in place, their bodies flickering like dying flames. "Before, Amanda," Peter said, his voice hoarse. She turned to him, tears streaming down her face. "Peter, you're still alive." "For now," he replied, his body trembling from the curse's hunger. "But I can't hold it much longer." Amanda looked at the journal, then back at Peter. "There's one last ritual. We can end the curse, but it will take both of us. Get in." Peter nodded. "Whatever it takes." Together they performed the ritual, using the journal as a conduit to summon the spirit of vengeance. The spirit appeared, enraged and powerful. "You dare defy me again?" Lou roared. "Yes, but take care. I also dare deal with you." The powerful featureless figure came closer, its jaws clamped on its claws. "Last Lord," the beast responded. Peter stepped forward. The ritual required a blood offering, and both Peter and Amanda knew what that meant. Without hesitation, they cut their palms and joined hands, their combined blood dripping onto the journal. The spirit screamed as the curse was ripped apart, its power collapsing in on itself. When the ritual ended, Peter and Amanda collapsed to the floor. The curse was gone, the crescent scars fading from their skin. But as they looked at each other, they knew they had paid a price. Amanda was mortal, but Peter's body was weak, his life fading quickly. "You saved me," Amanda whispered, holding him close. Peter smiled faintly. "I told you I wouldn't let it win." With one final breath, Peter closed his eyes, leaving Amanda to face the dawn alone. Amanda buried Peter beneath the crescent moon, a reminder of the curse they had defeated together. Though the whispers were gone, she knew the scars of the past would never fade. But she vowed to honor Peter's sacrifice and live the life he had fought so hard to give her.